What's going on, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Star Chasers, Girls Talk Ball. As you know, it's your girl, Cravin Cowboys. And as always, I got my girl Star in the building. How you doing tonight, sis?
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Hope y'all can hear me good. For some reason, I don't have problems with my mic when I'm on here, but when I'm doing individual shows, they're like, we can't hear you. But anyway, uh, what's up, everybody? Got to see everybody in the chat. J Money, Jameson. I know people are still coming in, but we are excited to be back for another episode of Star Chasers, Girls Talk Ball.
Yeah,
If y'all
very
could
exciting.
please help us like the video, share the video, um, subscribe to our YouTube channel,
Yes.
StarGazerSports, Mickey's Craving Cowboys, and help us grow our platforms. It would be greatly appreciated.
Yes, please. Like Star just said, yes, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, share button, all that for us. If you listen on Twitter, give us a like, give us a retweet, give us a follow if you're not following us. And like Star always says, hey, if you're listening on Twitter, come join us on YouTube side. It's not, we don't bite over here like at all. We don't bite over
Right.
here at all. Like
Yeah.
we welcome everybody. We love everybody. We welcome everybody to the YouTube side. Like she said, on our last video, this is where we kind of get, actually get to get our voice out. Yeah, you may be able to see our words on Twitter, but you can actually see our expressions. You can feel our excitement. Like she said, like, we were just talking about it off camera, like
You
with the
can
off
actually
season.
interact with us too on Twitter as well.
Exactly. And actually get
interact
your
on
opinion.
YouTube. Sorry, I said Twitter.
Yeah.
Interact with us on YouTube.
Yeah, and actually get like she said, interact with you guys and get your opinions and actually get them out to other people as well. You may not think that other people see or hear your opinions, but with us discussing our ideas, our opinions, and discussing you guys as well in the chat when you do join us, hey, it just helps us be able to come together, come closer as Cowboys Nation, and just be able to come with shout out the boss Cowboy, like it says our voices matter. We're always just able to just come together and actually collaborate as fans, collaborate as content creators, and collaborate just as people watching a sport that we just love to watch.
Right. Exactly. So y'all help us, please. If you're on the YouTube side, obviously, I got more of you guys on YouTube, way more of you guys on you. I mean, on Twitter, X, whatever. I have way more of y'all on X and Twitter than I do on YouTube. So if all of y'all could just like the video and subscribe, that'd be great. I'd have over 1,000 subscribers right now.
Right, like she's saying, like she said, like sometimes like to say, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie. So yeah, if she was doing 1,000 on YouTube, she'd be monetized already. So just help her out. All you gotta do is just take a couple clicks to close one window, get to the other window, subscribe on YouTube, and it's just that simple. It doesn't even shout out the landlord, like you said, don't cost nothing. Don't cost something to hit that like button. It don't cost anything to hit that subscribe button either. So like she said, just help us get our voices out there. But we just talking about, although it is the off season, it is a slow season. We are definitely getting well underway into OTAs, mini camp, things like that. Well, the players are, we're definitely not getting to it. But as far as news, coming out, media, being able to get out these pictures, get out this content, get out the player interviews, get out the coaches interviews. That we kind of just been, kind of just dying for, since the season kind of ended. So just, as we talked about last week, we're finally heard from Zimmer, heard, more more to what McCarthy plans to do. Not, of course, not details specifically, but just what he, of course, is kind of bringing the guys in, bringing in the rookies, bringing in the second-year guys, even the third-year guys. They have 2 years under their belt, but they can always learn more as well. You know what I'm saying? Kind of,
right.
Kind of take in. I'm sure the second year when they kind of look at you as a veteran, but those third year guys can really, they can really hone in on their. I don't want to, leadership. I don't want to say leadership is thrown around, but you don't have to be labeled a quote unquote leader, but you can still take on leadership in some kind of role where you do mentor a young guy, maybe a young guy that the coach doesn't see, or even the players are going to be closer to the players than they are going to be to the coaches. So. May not want to ask the coach a question. So they may, maybe get closer, maybe even on the off-field activities, ask these players, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? Mayor's info spoke about that very much so, about trying to be around these players, trying to soak up, trying to be there to serve, quote unquote, serve the veterans, and just wanting to be there, and just making sure that they can pick up on the details, pick up on the small things that they may otherwise miss if they're, quote unquote, afraid to ask a question.
Right. Yeah, I think, for our young all pro leaders, and I just did a show about this on last Friday.
Right.
You know, I said, will the real leaders stand up? And it's like, hey, you know, at this point, the Dallas Cowboys need it's not just off the field leadership, but we need on the field leadership. We need those who are going to, and I'm grateful because it seems like Eric Kendricks is for sure going to be that leader, but we need more. We need leaders that are going to be vocal when we're playing like ass. You know what I'm saying? We need leaders who are going to say, hey, you didn't, to their young guys, you didn't run that route right, or hey, you missed your gap here and you gave up a touchdown. Like, we need leaders to seriously step up, because if this team is going to take the next level or take the next step, that's what it's missing. Because I think in all of our losses that we've had in playoffs, in all of our losses that we've had in playoffs, like, you never really saw anybody besides, of course, this past year, we know Dak has always been a great leader, but this year Dak was obviously, we could see from sounds of the sideline, like, he's way more vocal on his guys, you know, very Brady-esque, you know, we could see.
And given the reins by McCarthy, pretty much said, hey, Dak, this is your offense, this is your team, you know, do what you do. You know, he never really had that full power before.
Yeah, like, he never had that, but like now, since Dak finally had that full control, you know, of the offense, like, he felt empowered, and you could really see that, you know. As soon as CD dropped that pass on third and 8, Dak is going to him like, what's the deal? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's figure it out. Like, Dak is talking to the players on the field. That's what you need. You need some type of leaders that can step in. It's not enough to shout and, you know, we the beep, 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 and we're going to do this before the game. Like, that's great. And I appreciate that. But we need those who is, when shit is hitting the fan, get everybody back in order.
Exactly.
Because, you know, shout out to Jay Tuck, who did an interview. I think his name was Michael Blackman.
Yeah.
That's, if I'm not mistaken. And he obviously was a former player of Mike McCarthy under Green Bay, and he was explaining the type of coach that Mike McCarthy is. And Mike McCarthy is a coach where, listen, he's prepared you all week. He's not a rah-rah, we're going to do all this. He's not a hype coach. He's like, listen, you're prepared. We've done the game plan. We've done this. Go out and play and win. Yeah. And he expects his players, he expects on the field leaders to be that rah-rah-rah voice.
Right.
So the fact that Mike McCarthy doesn't really have that outside, or he hasn't had that outside of Dak Prescott, that's a huge issue. Because Dak, I said, like, Dak can't do it by himself. And Dak is worried about the offense. Like, he's not gonna go up to Damone Clark. He can go up to Damone Clark. Hey, you know, you missed your guy. You missed your gap on that. Like, he's not gonna do that. Like, you need other guys to step up. So
that's an excellent point, Star, that you brought up about McCarthy. Not necessarily, and that doesn't make him a bad coach, but he doesn't necessarily have that kind of rah-rah in him, kind of that pull that player to the side. Hey, you know, kind of chastise them, you know, there on the sideline, you know, there in front of everybody. But that's I was just going to bring that up as a great point. Not only haven't had guys on the sideline, or, you know, player wise, we're kind of like rah-rah, get you guys, you know, get your hand out of your tail, you know, get in the game, just things like that. But we had great coaches, but we also haven't had coaches, to your point, Star, about who are rah-rah, hey, what are you doing, you know, hyped up on the sideline, you know, getting in your tail. So, you know, shout out to Zimmer. He mentioned in his interview about, like you said last week, you know, don't come off the sideline at me if you mess up on the field, because I'm gonna get at you. You know what I'm saying? Make sure like you said, make sure you go around me. So, like,
exactly.
Like you mentioned, that temperament on the sideline is going to make a difference as well.
Exactly. And shout out to Kelvin. What's up, Kelvin? How you doing? Kelvin Hicks, J Money. I think I shouted you out. Nisi, Eastside. What's up, guys? Glad to see you.
VIP list right there.
Yeah, you know Eastside. He thinks me and him is in an imaginary relationship. It's okay. I let him live. But I think that shout out to Aisha Morrison, because I played a clip on my show on Friday of Aisha saying like
friend of the show, Miss Aisha.
Yeah, friend of the show, Aisha Morrison. Love Aisha. And she was saying how this new draft class is a response to Green Bay, because when you look at all the players and you look at the temperament of these players, the attitude, I said the mentality of these players, all of these players are that we brought in are, we don't give a F.
Right. Mentally, guys,
right. But we're not only mentally tough, we're also very smart, very cerebral. So these players are, what Steven and Jerry did is they brought these players in to really push these second, these third year, these fourth year players, because nobody liked what they saw from the team when we played versus Green Bay.
Right.
And I think these players kind of you think it's sweet over here. You think, your position. That's why they got rid of all the old veterans, because it's like, no. Yeah. There's no more, this is my position now. Of course, CD, Micah, that, okay. Yeah, but I'm talking about the majority of the team, y'all don't have no locked-in spots.
Right. Yeah, this is definitely watch your back season, Star. That's an excellent point you just brought up, because even some of these, like you just mentioned, second, third year guys, like for you to number one mention second year guys, because even, of course we're going to get a little bit more leeway than some of these maybe third and fourth year guys who are definitely on their last leg. But even some of these, like you mentioned, these 2023 draft class themselves could be looking over their shoulders like, okay, you just brought me in here last year, but you know what I'm saying, hey, you just got Nathaniel Pete, Deuce Vaughn. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And you got Hunter Lipke, you kept Rico Dowdle around, you know what I'm saying? So you got all these guys, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he may have a leg up because he does know the system, but hey, these rooms are deep, sis. The running back room, wide receiver room, you know what I'm saying? Like the O-line room, you know what I'm saying? Like these rooms are really deep.
And these guys, what's up, Sugar Daddy? Glad to see you. And Hector, glad to see you.
What's good, Sugar Daddy? I haven't seen you in a while. It's good, fam. It's good to see you.
But these rooms are stacked with competition.
Yeah.
And these guys are really going to have to compete for these spots. And that's the guys that you want on the field, the guys that earned the position. Because, in the past two preseasons, we were sitting out multiple players. The year before last, we would sit Noah Brown. Knew he was starting. I'm like, what?
Armstrong.
Why would Noah Brown be sitting?
We were asking questions. It's like, why is this guy sitting down? We should see this guy. But okay, we should assume that he's gonna be playing time, because it's like guys who we may think who they thought were proven. We were asking questions about these guys, like why they're, and of course later in the season, Noah Brown, no shade to him, he gave us most of what he needed, but. We can call these plays he dropped balls in the most important times of the year. So, like you said, great. These guys had quote unquote automatic starting points, but we can talk about J. Ron Kurtz. We talk about Armstrong, who he gave us sacks, but what else production do we see on the field? You know what I mean? So, getting rid of some of that, like you were just talking about, just getting rid of some of those veteran guys who just thought, like you said, who just thought things were sweet. Okay. Well, let's see what these young guys have done in the meantime. You haven't had time on the field, but what have you been learning? Like you just said, it's kind of like what have you been doing with at least for me? What have you been doing with your time? You've had the time to sit back. So what are you going to do now? It's your time to step up.
Exactly. It's like we're at a point. We're at a crossroads where we need, as Steven, shout out to Boss Cowboy for pointing that out. Like Mike said, we brought Zimmer in because we needed an edge. So clearly, every single one of those, like I said, those draft picks that we brought in have an edge. They have that effort attitude, and they're very smart and they're very talented. And it's like, so now no one can just rest on their laurels and think, "Oh, I got it in the bag." No, you do not.
Right.
Like everybody needs to max out. You need to max out. You need to put every single snap, every single rep. You need to treat it like it's your last rep, because that's the type of attitude that you need when you're playing against the best teams in the NFL. The problem with the Dallas Cowboys, we're great in season. Like we know we are a good team because we're better than majority of the NFL. But when we get the playoffs, and talent is pretty much equal at this point,
Yeah.
You're only gonna win by who has the endurance and the mentality, and and that's from the players and the coaches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's basically like, all right, who's gonna be able to put this thing really all together, limit the mistakes, call the best plays, you know, for the coaches, call the best plays, be able to put your players in the best position, but also players, the talent is equal. So this is, you have to really execute.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's that IQ time of the season. It's that we talked about that last year, Star. It's crazy you brought that up. We talked about football IQ when we play these upper echelon teams. Like, yeah, you can beat out the NFC East division. Yeah, you can beat out, you know what I'm saying, other lesser teams in other divisions, or I guess I should say other NFC before we see those upper echelon teams later, like playoff teams. Even some of the better teams we're seeing now in the NFC, the Lions, who have come up. Even the Seahawks, you know, gave us trouble last season. So, like you mentioned, sis, like we talked about that when we faced the 49ers, having to face them early last season, but we were going to see them again in the playoff. We talked about football IQ, about, you know, even down to the player, like you just talked about. We talked about how in certain plays they had Schoonmaker in as opposed to having Ferguson. You know, so at a certain point, you know, a rookie isn't going to understand that they got to make a certain move against a veteran DB or a veteran defensive player that they're going up against. They may not know the certain mannerisms that they have to have in order to maybe win that certain play. You know what I'm saying? So some of these things do matter. Like, it may be like a small detail. Like, maybe you may be thinking, okay, well, they have to learn eventually. Like, well, no. When you get to those particular spots in those playoff games, or even just games down the season, we saw when we faced Miami, when we faced Buffalo, those are important games as well. So when you make those quote unquote minor mistakes, using the wrong personnel, things like that, those can come back to bite you. So
exactly, that comes back to bite you. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody, and you know, our problem in playoffs is we've been in playoffs 3 years in a row, but for the past 3 years in a row, we've been out coached.
Exactly.
We just flat out been out coached. Dan Quinn, you had that glorious run in 2022. And I give you that. You know, you coached a hell of a game. But, you know, I had said today, in 2022, we had peanut butter, but we didn't have no jelly, right? So we had a good defense, but we didn't have a good offense. We thought we had a good offense because we have Dak Prescott, and he's a walking 10-win quarterback. But when you're going against, when your quarterback's going against the number one defense in the league, he needs more than CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is not enough. So that was the problem. Everybody's like, well, what happened, Dak? You know, one of my viral tweets this week was Dak has never had a team that could carry him. Ever. Mm-hmm. Like, he's never had it. And people are like, well, what about 2022? And I'm like, that the defense was good, but still, that wasn't a defense that was going to carry Dak. That was just a defense that was playing well in the postseason, that was showing up. But we certainly didn't have the offense that could carry Dak. That offense was not going to carry Dak anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But all these other quarterbacks have had teams that could carry them. You know what I'm saying? So if they have a bad game, it's okay. We can still win. If you throw picks, it's okay. We can still win. You know, if you, don't throw any touchdowns, it's okay. We can. Joe Burrow, if you throw Jimmy
Garoppolo, I mean, had multiple playoff games with one touchdown. I mean, that's unheard of. I'm like, what?
1 to 0 touchdown. So it's like, do you think Dak, the way our current teams have been set up, y'all think Dak could score 0 touchdowns and win? It's laughable. Like, that's never going to happen. And that's what I'm saying. Cowboys fans have to look at other teams and then look at our team and be like, oh, okay. If you just look at our team in a vacuum and be like, you know, you'll say, oh, you know, Dak can't get it done, or this or that or whatever. But it's like, when you actually look at the context of our team and then you look at other teams, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially when you see them in similar situations. Like, I mean, we were comparing Dak to Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, when he didn't even have as we saw, we saw that he didn't have any weapons in the Super Bowl, and he still went out there and And it does go both ways, you know, and
Right.
I will take that. It does go both ways when you do bring up Patrick Mahomes, where you got to say, well, if he doesn't have the weapons, then why hasn't Dak done it? Which is understandable. I can say that. But for this particular argument, we're just saying that particular year, in that beginning of the year, what was Patrick doing? You know, what were the Chiefs doing? You know what I'm saying? So it took a very a very long time, if you will, within the season.
The Chiefs were terrible all year. You know, I was firmly like, if they do make playoffs, they're gonna be a first round exit.
Exactly.
But see, when you have good coaching, when you have when you have elite coaching,
correct.
And then on top of that, you had an elite defense,
right?
And you had a running game. That's how Patrick Mahomes made it with no weapons.
Exactly.
But people talk about Patrick Mahomes and what's up, Amp? Glad to see you in the chat, Amp.
Good, Amp. How you doing?
Shout out to Amp Sports. He's part of the baby content creators like us. Love Amp. Yes. Y'all need to go check out Amp Sports. Please click on his channel right now and subscribe to him. What's up, my guy David? Love you, David. That's my guy right there. But it's like that's how Patrick Mahomes made it. He didn't make it because all of a sudden, you know, he was out there just slinging it. Patrick Mahomes scored, what was it, 17 points in the AFC Championship game. Patrick Mahomes wasn't out there scoring. He came in the Super Bowl and he came out at half at the Super Bowl throwing picks.
Okay.
He just had a defense that was good enough to carry him, and he had a running game that was good enough to stabilize him. Yep. That's all it is.
Stepped up in the right moments because I think and not just talking about Patrick Mahomes. If you guys want to say, okay, well, Patrick Mahomes is different, this, that, and the third, I think we can talk about the 49ers, who I want to say this past year or the previous year, where they were down as well. I think 2 to 3 scores in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's definitely the 49ers where it was a similar situation as us at half. 49ers were down. The score was 24-7. Our score was 27-7. So it's pretty much 3-point difference. So it's pretty much identical situations. Yep. But the difference between the 49ers and us is the 49ers didn't allow a single touchdown after they came out of half.
Correct.
We just kept giving up touchdowns. Like, that's what people don't understand. You know what I'm saying? Like, people like, well, Dak can't make mistakes. He can't make mistakes like that. Why the hell not? Everybody else is.
Right. And Brock Purdy was making just as many mistakes, if not more, in that game.
Exactly. Brock Purdy, all the greats. I've sit there and watched playoff games. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, all of these guys. They've thrown multiple picks in playoffs. A lot of them thrown pick sixes in playoffs. Like, y'all act like what Dak did was like, oh, no quarterback does this. Like, everybody does that, bro. Like, this is the playoffs. Your quarterback is going to make mistakes.
Right.
If he don't make mistakes this game, he probably going to make mistakes the next game. Like, no quarterback is perfect all throughout playoffs. You know, unless you catch, like, lightning in a bottle. You know, what's his name? I forgot. Joe Flacco. I think that was his name. Like, Joe Flacco, who had that great year in 2012 when the Ravens won the Super Bowl.
Right.
But Joe Flacco was not great. He just kind of caught fire that year. You know what I'm saying? But no quarterback is going to be perfect. And especially if you want your quarterback to play perfect, you're probably going to need a good defense and a run game. For sure, a run game. And Dak Prescott has not had a run game in the playoffs these past 3 years. Like, he just hasn't had it. Like, in the playoffs. I'm not talking about what happened in season, but in the playoffs, he hasn't had a run game. Now, this past playoffs game, I think Mike was trying to run the ball, but when your defense can't get stops, you can't run the ball no more.
Right.
At that point, you're running the clock out on yourself.
When you're down 3 scores?
Exactly. You know, like, you just can't. Like, the running the ball just got thrown out the window. You know what I'm saying? Once they realized, like, oh, our defense can't stop a nosebleed today, that went out the window. Running the ball is like, well, give that up.
Right. And we even saw that. And we actually saw the opposite of that in the beginning of the season, where we were having, blowouts because the offense was giving up, or the defense was making those plays to be able to up us and score. So we never really, I don't know, I'm not using that as an excuse, but we never we took the opportunity to run the ball when we could, but we didn't necessarily need to run the ball because we were up so high. So just for us to be able, it's kind of
Right.
like practice. It was kind of like practice in the beginning of the year because okay, we're gonna
Yeah.
run the ball, but we're up. So if we do have a 3 and out, we're not necessarily pressed about it because we are up so high. But unfortunately, like we talked about earlier, that came to bite. That came to back to bite us too because we couldn't get the chemistry going. We weren't using Tony Pollard correctly, first of all, and of course, even when the running backs, when Blasco did come back, it was just still off, and Tony, the injury and all that, of course, we can name everything that just kind of came, at that, at the same time, but it's just hopefully this year, and that's what we're looking for this year, just kind of transition into our topic, we're looking for just we're going to take a look at the offensive line and the tight ends, just being an extension of the offensive line, and just see how look for more ways. Number one, that we can like we talked about protecting our quarterback. That's the number one thing that we have to do. And we spoke on running backs last week, but for them to be able to pick up pass protection as well, that's really our main. What seems like with the Cowboys, not just Dak, himself, but the main objective is always to protect your quarterback. So, like Jerry said, go where the money is, quote unquote. If you stack up that line, and we get back to the wall that we had, years ago when we had, Travis Frederick, if we can get back to those times where we can actually build a wall, bring these guys in, two Tylers on one side, number one, big guys, tall guys, physical guys. I'm saying we know about Tyler, already, Tyler Smith already, all pro guard, and him being at his staple position, he'll be able to hone in even more on his position, even honing him more on number one, his skill, and also just being able to develop the guy next to him. And of course, before he was being next to Beyonders, but either whether he's going to be next to BB or Hoffman, and just being able to kind of be that staple, kind of be that like solid rocking between those two guys, and him having been next to these guys, other guys before, being next to Tyron Smith before, being next to Beyonders, who had a couple years in the system. He'll just be able to have a little bit more rhythm and be able to teach these guys, hopefully, the correct way to go, and just even teach them just a little mannerism. Of course, it's what his third year, but like I said earlier, just these third years guys can come in and kind of take on a little bit more leadership role, just a little bit more responsibility, and teach some of these young guys who are coming in.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something. Leadership, it's something that's needed. Like we have to have it. We have to have it. It's great, the camaraderie, because I don't think that this team was like a fake brotherhood or anything like that. Like I think that they actually have real camaraderie and they really love each other. But what's that song? Love's not all that matters. You know what I'm saying? You got to have more than love. You got to have discipline.
Right.
You got to be smart. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of other things that you got to have other than, oh, I love my brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, so hopefully that's what Zim said that he's going to bring to the defense, because I see discipline from the offense. You know what I'm saying? I saw the offense struggle, but get into a rhythm.
Yeah.
With the defense, it just never happened, especially in the big games. It's like
great point.
They just couldn't. So now Zimmer's like, he's like, when things are done, they got to be done my way, and that's what we need. We need discipline. We need accountability. Yeah. So
another great point that Zim brought up is guys knowing what other positions are number one responsible for, and how their position is connected to other guys on the field. Because I mean, we can see that on offense. Like we see, I mean, not saying they have to be connected, but they really do.
Right, it is. That's a great point that you pointed out.
Because, you know what I mean? They got to be connected, but on the defense,
Yeah, let me see if I can show. Because the Marion Overshown spoke about that. His interview is only like long.
I actually saw Box when he was talking about how.
But I would love to show that video about how he speaks about that very thing. Yeah, it's only a 1 minute. Let me see if YouTube actually lets me play it, or what's it called? Share my screen.
Yeah. And like Star was saying while she was bringing that up, like it can make
Give me
a
second.
difference.
I'm gonna turn my fan off.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it's just about that chemistry, you guys. Like we see it on the offensive side. Like the offensive line has to protect the quarterback, correct? The running back has to do the same thing if he's in pass pro. But quarterback has to have that connection with the running back to be able to hand the ball off, and then the receivers have to know what the line is doing. They have to be in line with Jack's feet, with Dak's feet. You know what I'm saying? Just be able to have that connectivity. So we see the offense having that kind of chemistry, but with the defense, like Demo spoke on, and I'm sure it wasn't a shot at DQ, but we saw him focus on the D line. We saw at times him focus on the safeties, but how much work do we see him work, with the corners? I'm saying, as far as grinding with them, you know what I'm saying? With the linebackers, grinding with that room. We didn't see that connectivity. So, like Star's about to bring up, to have that connectivity to know, and even with Zim, like you said in your video, Star, about Zim, about what impressed him about Marist, is that what he knew about the defense. You know what I mean? So it's just having all those positions connected, and actually in Zim, coming in, actually wanting all guys to know what they're responsible for in respect to these other positions, I think is really going to change. I think it's going to change the game for the defense.
Yeah, I think it is too. Let me see. Can you, because it says I'm sharing my screen, but it's like the screen that I want to share is like background. Maybe you can take our overlay out and just put.
Okay, I got you.
Let me see if it works. Sometimes, I don't know why. Sometimes it'll connect to it and it doesn't connect. I don't know why it does that. Can y'all see? What'd you say?
Try sharing again. Try sharing again.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing and then I'm gonna try to share. If it don't work, it's okay.
Okay.
But I would like for us to.
Yeah, we definitely get it. There we go.
Is it showing?
I clicked the button. Let me see.
Can y'all see it? I mean,
yeah, it came up. Try one more time, because it came up and said show on stream.
Okay, because I can't see it on my screen. Let me hold on. Stopped it. Share again. Let me see. Yeah. Let's see. If it don't let me do it, we ain't gonna spend too much time on it. It's saying I'm sharing right now. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, we rocking. Go ahead, Star. Yeah, we got it over here.
Okay, so I'm gonna play it so y'all can listen to it, and we'll put a link. This is impromptu, but this of course is not our content. This is Dallas Cowboys content. We'll put the link to this video in the description.
Yeah.
So we don't snipe us here.
Weight-wise, you want to get a little bit bigger than you were last year, or what is that saying?
I've definitely gotten bigger since last year, and that was a more of a me thing, and seeing my future in this league and what was going to be best for my body, and to be productive on the field, and that was gaining weight, and not just gaining weight in general, but gaining lean mass, muscle weight, getting stronger. So I put about 12 pounds, 13 pounds of lean mass on, and I'm going to go into camp a little bigger and drop to where I want to play at, which would be around 233, 234.
So you're the Sam.
I'm Will.
I'm sorry, you're the Will.
Yes, sir.
Jamal's going back to the Sam.
You're playing Sam.
Now you got a new coordinator, you got a new Mike and Kendrick. How's that working for you in terms of understanding what Zim wants and how Eric is explaining everything?
I like Zim because not only do he coach us and teach us, but he actually teach us football, and you feel it and you get a good grasp of everything going on with the defense, and when you know what the safeties and what the D line doing in front of you, then it's easy to click with everybody. So I tell people all the time, I'm excited to play for him. I've seen who he's coached, the defenses he's been a part of, and they all have been special. So
So and I'm gonna start sharing it, but y'all hear what he said. Yeah, y'all hear what he said. He said, "I like Zimmer because he actually teaches us." You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, and you can
I don't know if that's a shot at Dan Quinn or Scott McCurley, but
exactly.
He said he actually teaches us, and it's easier to play when you know what everybody's assignment is. See, that's the thing about Dan Quinn. You had our players football dumb, Because you talk about let's just go out here, play fast and physical, and get
Yes,
these girls.
exactly.
And they don't even know what's going on. They don't even know anybody else.
Literally, Star. Literally. We can literally see Damone Clark and Marquise Bell out there like literally looking like what's going on.
Yeah, they have no idea. Completely. So it's like, how you going? And what's up, Keystone? What's up, Keystone?
What's up, Keystone? How you doing?
But it's like, how you going? How am I going to line the defense up? I don't even know what they're supposed to be doing.
It's crazy.
So it's like these players not intentionally taking shots at Dan Quinn, but they kind of are, because they're like, this ninja was not teaching us. Like we didn't know what we were supposed to be doing.
For him to say teaching us football, like it's kind of like I mean, and we hear Zimmer talk about it. Like I mean, we heard him say in the beginning that he's going to get back to the fundamentals. But to actually hear on the other side that they're getting taught football, like, and he said basically, it wasn't like he was saying, okay, he's teaching us technique, he's teaching us a different type, like the coaches have been saying, it's a different system. It's different. It's not, nothing bad about it. It's just different. We're not comparing. Right. It's just different. But to hear a player say he's teaching us football, like he's teaching us the fundamentals, he's teaching us the basic things we need to know so we can do our job. Like he's teaching us how to do our job. So. Like Star said, we're sure it's not an intentional shot, but to hear players say that they're actually learning something when he came from a different coach just the year before, you know what I'm saying, to go to a different coach and say you're learning something, like it definitely speaks volumes.
He said it, not me, but that's all I'm saying. I just think that clearly there was just a lack of kind of accountability with Dan Quinn. There's a lack of teaching.
Right.
And Dan Quinn, unfortunately, like his track record shows that like you're a defensive coordinator that relies on the talent.
Yep.
You're not upgrading the talent. You're not making the talent better. That's why when he starts off as a coordinator or head coach, it's like, oh, his teams are really good or his defenses are really good. But then you see the players like just slowly start to fall off a cliff.
Right.
Because he doesn't teach. He's not helping upgrade these players.
Right.
These players are more like what you see is what you get. Like he inherited the Legion of Boom. Right. They were already good. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's the issue with Dan Quinn. Doesn't mean he's a crap coach. And I hope that Dan Quinn evolves, because it's like, dude, like, this is probably your last stint in Washington. This is probably your last go as a head coach.
For real, though.
You kind of need to get it together and really develop a staff that knows. But, I mean, honestly, you got Cliff Kingsbury over there. It's...
Yeah. And you know how Washington just be throwing stuff together. See what I'm saying? So like they be looking for stuff to stick to the wall. So at this point,
how their roster looks. Their roster looks very, just thrown together. Like y'all was just getting a bunch of names, a bunch of players. I mean, and I think it's gonna work out for them in year one, especially with Jaden Daniels, because he's a rookie quarterback. Like people don't really know what to expect, but once that film gets out on Jaden Daniels, we'll see what he actually will be. But anyway, we did want to talk to y'all today about positions.
Yeah, and actually, I'm glad we talked about this, because I think it'll translate well. I mean, we saw just how important it was to Coach Z to be able to go up against Coach Solari, right? So. Just kind of bring it together, even though we haven't even talked about it yet, but just kind of bring it together. Like, I think it's going to make our offensive line better, because if you have a better defensive coach who's going to have these, of course,
that's a good point.
I'm saying hands on with the D line. That's going to improve the D line and also improve your offensive line, because there've been questions about who is guiding week one. We know who he's facing. We know he's facing, the former, defensive player of the year just of last year, Myles Garrett.
Right.
So
exactly.
Because there were questions about who is he going to face, in training camp. We know about Parsons. We know who else he's going to go. Sam Williams. He's going to go against these other younger guys. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's just, it's not just the guys going up against. It's the techniques they're being taught. It's the coaches, right. You know what I'm saying? So it's they're learning new things. The offensive line is learning new things, because
that's a great point.
Exactly. There's more competition. So these guys are gonna, and actually, like you mentioned earlier, Star, like knowing they had the actual opportunity, number one, You know what I'm saying? Like, because there's not that guy in front of them who automatically has a spot. There's no Tyron Smith. You know what I'm saying? There's no Beatters. You know, actual competition for the center position, they put three guys. They put three guys up against each other. So at one position, you know what I'm saying? We're talking about all the offensive line, but just at one position, you know what I'm saying? So these guys are just going to want to be more hands-on, not just with the coaches, but I mean, I'm trying to think of who said it, but just in general, but it's gonna. I think Miss Aisha said that it's gonna be very important for these young players at this time to get their hands on with the coaches with Dak. You know what I'm saying? Because this is really the only time you're gonna get before things start speeding up. Like McCarthy said, you don't want to fall behind. Before the 5 weeks hit, you can go home and hone in on what you learned or what you thought you learned because you don't want to be too afraid to ask a question, but. In that 5 week period, you got to be right on time because like McCarthy said, you don't want to come back and be behind because things start picking up. Training camp, you're dealing with everybody coming.
Yeah, once training camp comes, I mean, you've got about 2 weeks and then it's already preseason. So training camp comes, it's like things start coming at you really fast. So it's very important to get this OTA, these voluntary, involuntary, whatever the hell you want to call it, all of that is extremely important, especially for, like Mike McCarthy said, for the rookies, but also the second-year players. So, it's a lot because you're completely absorbing the playbook, the changes, and all that type of stuff. So, it's definitely once you get to campus, do or die. So, these players, like you said, this time is crucial. You know what I'm saying? It's crucial. And shout out to Steven. What's up, Steven White? Glad to see you, buddy.
Hey, Steven, what's up?
But this time for these young players are crucial.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's crucial for the older players too, just with them getting their hands around these younger players and building that relationship and stuff like that, and building the chemistry and synergy and teaching them all that stuff. Like, this is very important because, like I said, once training camp comes, it's a full out battle because the coaches have 2 weeks. They have 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks to decide who's gonna make the roster, who's gonna be the starters, and who's not.
Exactly.
So it's like this is not a time to be learning. This is the time to be competing.
Right.
So the learning period is right now. So
And now I'm thinking about it. It was Brandon Cooks, and granted, he was talking about the wide receivers. Getting more in touch, pulling Dak aside, you know what I'm saying, taking that time. Hey, if you have a question, ask, right there, right now, or, wait, pull them aside after practice, get that time in because you're not going to get, not saying you're not going to get another chance, but Dak has to focus too. Dak got to get with the quarterbacks. He's teaching Lance, because Lance is competing as well. So Dak was going to have his mind concentrating, on that particular room, learning. He's going to be learning, maybe new things. McCarthy's going to be coming out with new plays. You know what I'm saying? They'll be learning, they're going to be in play mode, but at the same time, he's going to have to learning what he has to learn. So he's not going to have time to be, hands-on with each particular player. So it's going to be, like Star said, it's going to be very important for these guys at this period to learn what they can at this particular moment. And just while we're talking about the offensive line, what I'm saying, like we talked about earlier, Guyton. We have, our 7th round pick, Nathan Thomas.
Yeah.
Awesome Richards from last year, 2023 class. Actually, what I'm talking about, let me bring up the. Let me take off the. Okay, there we go. That.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Everybody try to let me know if you can see, but of course we have, of course at the top I just put who we assume is going to be the starting 5. I'm assuming, they're going to have, of course they're going to have Cooper Beebe. We talked about earlier, Cooper Beebe, Brock Hoffman. They threw TJ Bass in there competing for the center spot, but they told, the draft pick Beebe that they wanted him to play center. So I'm assuming that they're going to put Beebe there because, they say he's a mauler, like the dirt players and things like that. I just assume they would put him at the top, but I'm sure Brock Hoffman is going to have a lot to say about that. And we saw him just last year, mauling guys at the at the goal line. I'm saying making his presence known. TJ Bass as well, and I'm saying he's definitely no underdog. You know what I'm saying? So he I think they definitely want him somewhere. You know what I'm saying? We can definitely see they want him somewhere starting. You know what I'm saying? So you can see the rest of the guys up here, and this is no in particular order. The guys, second line down. Of course, Matt. Well, let's go, Josh Ball. Unfortunately, I think we're saying, goodbye to you guys.
Yeah, I think it's all over, but
Yeah,
the crying, like,
and assist, because it's almost every offseason or almost every other interview. When's the last time we heard Stephen Jones mention, well, let's go? And that's his go-to guy. Like, oh yeah, well, let's go. We're trying to do this with him. We're trying to do that.
Now he mentioned them. He mentioned them all right, but he mentioned them during the draft. Let's go with ball. But it's like, Steven, you can mention them all you want, but these you can say, but the way you drafted showed that you do not have faith in these guys.
Exactly.
These guys, you've given them 4 years. This is their 4th year, both of them, I think. 3rd year. They can't stay healthy. They can never stay on the field. They've missed much time. They're so behind. You're so behind in growth, and we just don't have time. Like Jerry said, the best ability is availability. Right. So I think Matt Waletzko, Josh Ball, you can already count out. We know Nathan Thomas is going to be here because he's a draft pick. We don't really cut offense. We don't really cut offensive line draft picks. We never cut them. You may, release them, but cutting, first of all, your first year, we give them time is what I'm saying. Because we probably will say, bye Matt and Josh, but we at least let our offensive line at least have about 3 to 4 years before we say, okay, bye.
Yeah, and that was the same for Awesome as well.
Right. Same thing for Awesome. So I think Awesome, Nathan Thomas safe, TJ Bass, Brock Hoffman, those guys are safe because TJ Bass and Brock Hoffman, if Brock doesn't get the starting job, which I don't think he will, I think Cooper Beebe will beat him out, but he's for sure going to be backup center. He's going to be on the roster for sure. He's not getting cut. TJ Bass is not getting cut.
They love his toughness.
Right. Love his toughness. He's a fighter. He's very physical. TJ Bass, very technique sound, stout. You know what I'm saying? So TJ Bass will be our swing guard until, Zach leaves, and then TJ Bass, I think, will be our starter for the most part because, by next year he'll be a 3rd-year player. He should be ready to go. So, and thank you, David. He reminded me, please like the video. Everybody, please like our video. Please subscribe. If you're watching on Twitter or Facebook, please like, share, and subscribe. Please do not burn us on the likes, please. We are begging y'all. Please like the video and help us. But when it comes to, like I said, Brock Hoffman, definitely going to be our swing guard for sure. Earl Bostic Jr., I think Earl Bostic and Dakota. Now, Dakota is one that people don't talk about, but the players talk about him a lot. Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe both mentioned that they have been training and practicing with him. So he's already been like a leader to the young guys. So,
Jack mentioned them as well.
Right, exactly. So I definitely think Dakota is going to be here for sure. I don't think he's going to get cut. But if he does, he's definitely, him and Earl. I don't know much about Earl. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. But I think he's definitely going to be, at the very least, a practice squad player. But I think they value him so much, they're going to find a way to actually have him on the roster. And then Chuma Edoga, they like Chuma Edoga. You know what I'm saying? And Chuma Edoga was not, everybody thinks he was terrible. I'm like, he wasn't terrible. He just didn't know the plays. Chuma Edoga, we don't have film of him just getting his ass beat. We got film of him just literally just completely not blocking. The man just forgot them. I don't know if he didn't know the plays or checks or whatever, but he was totally confused. There were a couple of times he was out there confused.
And he missed a good part of training camp as well because he had an injury.
He had that injury, he had that injury. But they like him as our swing tackle. So Chuma Edoga's gonna for sure be here. But I would say the 3 guys that are likely on the outs would be Matt Waletzko, Josh Ball, and possibly Earl Bostic Jr. I think those are probably the 3 guys where you could probably say, if we're only going to carry how many offensive line? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So I would say,
How many offensive line do we carry typically?
I would say, we have 5, and then I think we have 3 on game, and 3 extra on game day, I believe.
3 extra. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3. So if we had to make our predictions.
Yeah, because you're not really squeezing, Matt and Josh Ball on that IR list no more. You know what I'm saying? Because you got more guys.
Right.
So
you're not hiding
them no more.
we've hit them
no more. You know what I'm saying?
Right. We've hit them enough, so they're not gonna be here. So if I had to make an educated guess, it's gonna be the starting 5 y'all see there at the top.
Right.
Shumi Doga, TJ Bass, Brock Hoffman will be the guys that will be active
on game day, correct?
But Austin Richards could, but I'm trying to see because Shumi Doga is a left tackle. Austin Richards is a left tackle too. Yeah. The one thing that we don't have is a backup right tackle. I don't know if they're working. That's the one thing that I question. So I don't know if Austin can play both or if Shuma can play both. Yeah. Because if they can't, then it does make me question. Like you do need a backup right tackle. Yeah. Unless they would. I don't know, because who would they move to right tackle?
I don't. And honestly, before I found out, or before we found out that they said they were talking to Thomas about playing guard, I figured they got him to replace Terrence Steele when they got there.
No, he's gonna be a guard.
So yeah. So after I learned that, so I'm like, okay, so like you mentioned, like who are they gonna have to back up Terrence Steele, especially after this? Hopefully, it doesn't happen again. Knock on wood, but especially after coming off an injury, like
we really only have 2 potential swing tackles, Shuma Doga and Austin Richards.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like you can pretty much guarantee they're gonna be on there. So
yeah. So maybe like we really haven't seen a lot from Austin as well. Like you mentioned, like maybe he's he's still so green. Like you said, maybe they do they have time and enough depth as we can see to be able to move him to the right side, because we actually have. That's something we couldn't do before. Like McCarthy mentioned about not having the starting 5, you know what I'm saying, and not knowing who could be the starting 5 because you didn't have enough because of injury or what have you, other things coming up, having starters, Tyron Smith, not sure what's going on with him. So just Austin Richards not getting, at least not for me, just in my opinion, like I don't think he got, of course he hasn't got enough work, last year in training camp, and we didn't get to really fully see what he was capable of, and even going into the season. He only got those few snaps because they were going back and forth between him and Shuma. And we had Tyron and Tyler. The injury, just everything was just going back and forth. So and now we have the actual depth, our starting 5, and then we just have a little bit of a cushion where we can actually where they can decide where they want to put Austin, where they want to put these particular guys. Actually, and very early in the offseason, now we're moving along, closer and closer to training camp. But it was early enough to where they could figure out where they want to actually put these guys and where they want them to play, so that way they can get this offseason time, and actually spend that time. Vice what we saw 2-3 years ago when they were bouncing Tyler Smith between tackle and guard, and the next at guard, but the next thing you knew we had to put him at tackle because of what happened with Tyron. So it's just good to have this. It's just good to have this cushion right here with this many guys in the O-line room.
Yeah, and Keystones, he said it should be 10 that we carry. He said every position should have a back. He said every position should have a backup. That makes sense.
Okay.
So I definitely the starting 5: Shumi Doga, TJ Bass, Austin Richards, and I heard Austin Richards has also been working out with Duke. So
awesome. Okay. Right. Good.
Austin is the guy to circle, because he's the guy that we just really don't know,
much about
where they're gonna play him. You know, so that's a guy that we circle. So we're gonna put Austin on watch. I might put it in the chat and on my Twitter, like, can anybody give us any updates on Austin?
Yeah,
has he gotten bigger? Like, has he said anything of, is he working guard? Is he working tackle? Because I would really like to know, like, what are we doing with him?
Yeah. Because even I think it was last year in the Giants game, like granted, like saying he didn't have a lot of snaps, but I think there was maybe a play or two where, he was able to ground some players where I think TP was able to either get a touchdown or be able to get, I don't know if he got a touchdown to the right off a screen, I can't remember, but there was definitely a play where Richard was dirting a guy and Pollard was able to either make a first down or a touchdown. So just seeing his intensity that early. And just
Richards is definitely a guy I'm excited about. I really like, Austin Richards, and I did think somebody said he's for sure playing tackle. So I don't think he's playing guard.
Right.
I think they for sure have him at tackle. Yeah. We're just trying to see are they trying to get him to? Has he been practicing right and left tackle?
Yeah.
I would hope
game
so.
That they had Chuma at guard, and then Awesome. I think Awesome was playing tackle that game.
Right, because Chuma is a flex. So
yeah.
But yeah, I out of these guys to actually make the roster, I would say Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, Cooper Beebe, Zach Martin, Terrence Steele, Chuma Edoga, TJ Bass, Awesome Richards, Brock Hoffman, and then my last person, I would probably go ahead and say Nathan Thomas. Just because he's a draft. Now with Dakota, it's gonna be between Nathan Thomas and Dakota Shipley.
Yeah. And
Nathan Thomas is a draft pick.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying Nathan Thomas is a draft pick, so they can put him on IR or redshirt him if they feel like Dakota is going to offer more for us, because Nathan is a developmental pick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but that would be my prediction at this current moment.
I'm definitely with you on that one, sis. I definitely agree with you. Like, and like what I was going to say is that it's just that I think it's going to come down to that's when we talk about competition, where and McCarthy mentioned this as well, like down towards the bottom of the roster is where it's going to really make a difference, and not just special teams, but just in the competition in general. Like when you try to make that last roster spot, it's going to come down to what the guy Star just mentioned, what the guy can bring, like what nuances can hand placement, being firm, you know what I'm saying, standing firm, not getting knocked backwards, like. It's gonna be little things like is he, does he have mind lapses like we saw last year? Unfortunately, at some points in time with Chuma, you know what I'm saying? Are we gonna see even in camp or even just off or OTAs where maybe one player isn't picking up so quickly on the playbook, or just it's gonna come down to the details. And if like we talked about earlier, guys have to be on their game to pay attention to make sure that they're on top of everything.
Yep. You're 100% right. Like it's gonna be a full out competition, because I could very well see Awesome Richards pushing Chuma Edoga for that swing tackle spot. I definitely can see that for sure. Right. So that'll be an interesting battle. Awesome Richards versus Chuma Edoga. I think will be an interesting battle to watch. And obviously Brock Hoffman versus Cooper Beebe. I think my guy Cooper Beebe's got it in the bag. But people are saying, listen, Brock Hoffman is good. He's been working his ass off, and he definitely is not going to just let Cooper Beebe take his spot. So I think, those would be interesting positions. Now, Tyler Guyton, he's got the job locked up. They're not going to start Chuma Edoga over him. They're just not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? Unless he's just horrible.
Right. I definitely see this Chuma as like a kind of like an insurance signing. You know what I'm saying? I think he kind of like Freeman as well. Like I think some of these signings maybe wouldn't have happened. I think at a certain point they signed Chuma. They signed Royce Freeman because we didn't know if we were getting a running back. We didn't know if we were going to get this many linemen in the draft. So it's I think some of these were just insurance signing, but at the same time, like we were talking about. It really just breaks that competition down to what like Star said. What are you really going to bring? What are you going to bring to your game? What are you going to improve upon?
Facts. Yeah. So and then we can move into the last battle that we had. This is what we're going to try to bring y'all position battles every week, until we go on the break, which they're about to go on break soon, and then it'll be training camp. So but of course, like Mickey got here, like TE1 is locked up. That's Jake Ferguson's position. We already know that. But when you look at the rest of these guys, Peyton Hendershot, John Stevens Jr., Alec Holler.
That's Luke Schoonmaker, and that's not intentionally covered up. I didn't know our pictures were gonna be here at the bottom, but that's. I know you're probably not watching Luke, but that's not intentional. But that's Luke Schoonmaker down at the bottom right there.
We got Luke Schoonmaker, Princeton Fant, and Brevin Spanford. So what do you think, sis, with the TE2 position?
What
do you think?
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you guys follow me, but I just did a video the other day about, the tight ends, and I just love how much this, the tight room, I just really, not just a competition, but really what the Cowboys have done. Like and just in my opinion, like I love the scene that they brought in players like a John Stevens. Even before he came in, like they brought in players like a Peyton Hendershot, or even like Jake Ferguson. Like we've had the Jason Witten. You know what I'm saying we can name him, but how many tight ends have we named that really brought like something special, like something just special? Like how many times, how much? What other tight end have we talked about this much? Like we talked about Jake Ferguson. You know what I'm saying? Even the past 2-3 years, he's made such an impact on our team to where we're talking about him being the second option, as we sometimes mistake him and call him the second receiver. You know what I'm saying, on the team, because we love the attitude he brings. We love the leadership he brings. And we're talking about that a lot lately, about taking command of your position, your teammates, your just being that guy they want to look to in the locker room. So just bringing and also bringing a player like Peyton Hendershot, and it's not a knock against him. Last year he just had kind of a down year, just in my opinion. But I still do believe he has a chance to stay, because he does have that fire in him. He does have that passion and that want to do better. We see, we heard, I think it was McCarthy, I think you mentioned it, or I think who mentioned about him being in the locker room working. Actually, no, it was Lunda Wells mentioned about him being in the locker room working out. You know what I'm saying, prepping for this year. So it's it's good to see him. Good to see that he's still at it. I'm sure his confidence maybe kind of took a dip last year, but and the confidence, just seeing that these guys want to step up into these positions, wanting to contribute to the team. Cravin and Star, who they brought in. I mean, how many times, number one, do we bring in a big guy, a big tall guy, but a tight end? You know what I'm saying? We talk about Kelsey, we talk about, Mark Andrews, just these big, powerful guys who, put their body on guys. I'm saying, who go out there, not number one, take a hit, but also to give a hit as well. And we see that with Jake Ferguson. So just seeing them bringing a guy in like Cravin Ford, who goes up, high points the ball, fights, the battles for the ball. So just seeing that some of these guys, like Star talked about earlier, just changing the temperament of the locker room, changing the temperament of the position. You know what I'm saying? Having particular plays, like Ms. Aisha mentioned, for John Stevens Jr., an undrafted guy in his first year, but you already see something special in him, something that you want to, kind of bring out early in preseason. So I think they're excited about, John Stevens Jr. as a player, but I think they're excited as well about we see it on Lunda Wells' face, just having, I don't think he's had, this plethora of
all these tight ends. It's crazy. Like the talent, that we have in this room is crazy. And I literally put on Twitter, I said, this was weeks ago, probably 2 weeks ago. I said, I think we may have the best tight end room in the league. You know what I'm saying? I think people may be like, but really, I'm talking about tight end room.
Right.
Room. You know what I'm saying? Like Jake Ferguson, obviously we can't say that right now at this moment he's the best tight end in the league. That, obviously that belongs to Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews and George Kittle.
Right.
Even though I think Jake Ferguson is better than George Kittle. But, we can't say Jake Ferguson is the best right now. But when you talk about the talent of the room, Jake Ferguson, Cravin Spanford, which I know there's been some mixed views of Cravin. Shout out to my guy JC's Cowboys, and also my guy DMV. They think that Cravin Spanford is way more of a project than, say, my guy like Boston Cowboy, who thinks Cravin Span has a higher talent upside than Jake Ferguson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, when I didn't watch Cravin Spanford's film for 2023, but I did watch him for 2022, and he, people are saying, he's a blocking tight end, but I was like, hey, when I watched him, he was the main target, at least the games that I watched, like he was a go-to guy for that quarterback over there in Minnesota. So I definitely believe that Cravin Spanford, shout out to Coach Lunda, who said they call him 6'8" now because he's actually 6'8".
Did you hear that? I'm like,
when you say 6'8", and then you also watch like his traits and his athletic ability, I definitely can see him being a formidable. I could see him and Jake Ferguson being like 1A, 1B type of tight ends instead of you're tight end 1, tight end 2, because I do think Cravin Spanford has that upside.
Yeah.
But then you throw in John Stevens Jr., who is a converted wide receiver to tight end.
Right.
And he's done gained all this muscle mass so that he could be better with the
and
inline blocking.
And tall as well.
And he's a very tall guy as well. So when you got these three, you're like, damn, like this is crazy. It really is going to be a battle for me between Brevin Spann and John Stevens Jr. Peyton Hendershot, I said you wasn't going to make the roster last year, so you gone. So, like, in my eyes, you go. Because you shouldn't even still be here. I'm not going to lie. Like, you shouldn't even be here.
Not one more chance, sis.
No. It's like, no. If we didn't have the talent that we have, yes.
Right. Yeah.
If we just had Schoon, it's like, yeah, but I'm sorry. When you got Brevin Spann and John Stevens Jr.
Yeah. And that's where I think
both can stretch the field like Peyton Hendershot can.
Yes.
Like, why would we keep you? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just my opinion.
I feel you.
When it comes to Luke Schoonmaker, he gonna be here, guys, because he's a second round draft pick, and Steven ain't cutting him. He ain't cutting him.
Right.
But mark my words. I'm saying you heard it here first. Luke Schoonmaker, they gonna put him on IR. He ain't gonna be active. They're gonna put his butt on IR because once again he's hurt again. He about to miss another offseason at training camp again. So I'm like, yeah, they're gonna put him on IR.
Yeah, one of the spots that have been taken up by Let's Go or Ball, that's now filled by Luke Schoonmaker.
Right. They're gonna put Luke Schoonmaker right on over there. Princeton Fant and Alec Holler. Those are two guys that are interesting because I haven't heard much about them at all.
Yeah.
But, I assume that we'll hear more about, they'll have their opportunity in camp to prove if they should be worth talking about. Because I'm sure if they make some plays, they'll be talked about. But if they don't.
Yeah. No, that is absolutely correct, sis. That's what we talk about, competition, right? Like, it's up to these guys. I'm saying, I think it was, it was you, Star, mentioning it on your show, talking about, use the example of, you're an adult, you got to know when to take responsibility for your actions. So, like you mentioned, it's up to these guys. Like I mentioned before, like in my video, like you have the same amount of time to prepare in the off season, like everybody else does. So, what are you going to do with your time? You're saying, what are you doing with your time from here, or even before now, up to training camp? You're saying, what are you going to bring that's different than the guy standing next to you?
Right. Like what is it? That's what we're saying. Like it's a real competition because. If you got a player he's got similar attributes as you got to exceed him in another way.
Right.
Because you're not really going to out-talent him. Mm-hmm. So it's got to be the IQ, knowing the playbook back and forward. Mm-hmm. Another thing, Mike McCarthy's looking for, who is the better blocker? Because I think that's going to be a big factor.
Yeah.
And who is that TE2 position? Who blocks better? You know what I'm saying? So these are all assets of the game that these guys really got to work on if they actually want to make this roster. And shout out to Hector Colon. He said, just put all politics aside. Can we get one season of foot in the best players on the field all season long and let the chips fall where they may? I agree with that, Hector. This is the season, and that's what I think this season is set up for because we got rid of those guys where we could play politics, where we could play the favorites. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like these guys are going to have to really come in here and they're going to have to compete for these roster spots because nobody's spots is locked in.
Exactly.
And when you have old school coaches like a Mike Zimmer, when you have an old school coach like Mike Solari, these guys really believe in earning the positions. But Mike McCarthy also believes in that. He said in the press conference, he said, I don't look at rookies to say you're going to be the starter.
Right.
I don't look at them. They got to learn and then they earn. If they show us enough, then they earn that. But we don't just look at rookies, we drafted you to be the starter. He said, I don't believe that.
Exactly.
So I really do think that, we're going to have honest and open competition for all of these, most of the spots. Like I said, of course, there's positions that are locked up, like Dak and CD, Micah, D-Law. Those are positions that are locked up.
Yeah.
But I think everybody else, and Zach Martin, of course, and Tyler Smith. Like there's all Pro Bowl players' positions are pretty much locked up.
Facts.
But the rest, which is a majority of the rest of the team, you're competing. Exactly. This is a competition,
Facts. That's an excellent point you bring up. Like these are guys, and I think I've heard that in multiple coach positional coach interviews about. Well, I wouldn't say positional coach, but we heard it from McCarthy. We heard it from Linda Wells about. About why they number one brought these guys in, Brevin Spanford, a blocking tight end, Alec Holder, blocking tight ends, Luke Schoonmaker. And this last year, they mentioned his blocking. That's why they kind of kept him on. So that's like, and even John Stevens Jr. We saw him doing a blocking last year in preseason, unfortunately before he got hurt. And another point he brought up last year, we were talking about Hendershot constantly improving his blocking, and even Ferguson mentioned himself that he wants to improve his blocking. So this is something that these guys have to bring as another aspect to their game, because like Ms. Morrison mentioned, that they're an extension of the offensive line. We're looking to protect the quarterback. So we can't have mind lapses. We can't have whiffs where guys forget to block. We can't have, and they're not going to ask wide receivers to, they ask them to block, but they're not going to ask a wide receiver to block like they ask a tight end to block, because it's part of what tight ends are supposed to do, part of their job on the field. So, just having, not just blocking, that's not going to be the only thing they can bring to the game, but that's certainly going to be something that these coaches are going to be looking at, because we've heard it in multiple interviews where it's going to be essential to helping out this line, because we have Tyler Guyton on the left side, we have Terrence Steele hopefully healthy now, but we had to help him out a lot last year. So you can imagine just how much of a toll that took with Ferguson and not having a replacement to come in and take his spot, having to help out Terrence Steele. So we were talking about earlier, Star, about connectivity with the offense, right? So these guys, number one, have to be on the same page, but also have to be on their game, on their own page, and knowing their position and knowing just how important their sole position is to the rest of the team, because like we talked about, it's connected.
Right. It's all connected, and how exactly what you said, how you fit into the team is important. How your skill sets fit into the team, who flows better, that's going to be a big factor on who is flowing better, what group am I putting out there where I'm like, this group is it, what I'm saying? So it is important for you to build camaraderie, chemistry, practicing with your teammates. You know what I'm saying? It's very important for that to happen, because again, if you're on the field and you're looking disjointed, you're looking like odd man out.
Yeah.
that's a knock against you. You know what I'm saying? So I really am happy about these position battles. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like this is for the first time in 3 or 4 years, we actually have competition. Actually, in a while, because I feel like this has always been top heavy players. And so for us to not have a lot of top heavy players, and majority of the team where we're like spots up for grabs, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that is going to be, pretty cool and pretty unique to see. But, if I had to make my prediction right now, who would be our tight ends going into week 1, I would say, of course, training camp can change this, but I would say, of course, Jake Ferguson, John Stevens Jr., Brevin Spanford would be my guesses. If those 3 aren't on the roster, I'd be thoroughly shocked, and that would have to mean that Princeton Fan or Alec Holler or Peyton Hendershot just took a leap that we just can't deny. You know what I'm saying?
Right, so, exactly. Yeah, I'm with you, sis. Like those are really my same top 3, and if I had to put them in order, like I'm not gonna lie, like ever since last year, just seeing John Stevens Jr., what he brought to the position, and just seeing just how special, number one, how they felt about him, but just something different he brought in my opinion, what he brought to the position, and just how versatile he was willing to go out there and block, and just like Jake Ferguson, just willing to step into the position and do what you're supposed to do, but also to bring something special. It's not just about doing what you're supposed to do, but let me talk about what else are you going to bring to that position. So to see him go out in motion, to see him be able to catch tough passes, and to be able to take hits just like Jake Ferguson, to be able to we see with Ferguson, we see it with Demo as well, but he's on the defensive side. But just seeing these young guys finally build up muscle. Miss Morrison mentioned it about Jake Ferguson. I think she tweeted out, quote unquote, kind of some of the baby fat. I'm saying kind of these guys are number one.
He's leaned out, and he's really built his body to, like she said, take those hits.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there were some drops that he had simply because you didn't have you didn't really have the body to absorb them hits like that.
Exactly.
He's really worked on his body because he wants to be one of the best tight ends in the league. You know what I'm saying? And right now he getting disrespected. You know, they say, oh, he's kind of top 10, you know, but I think by the end of the year, Jake Ferguson will be undeniably top 5 tight end in the league. So,
right. Yeah, I mean, we even hear Wells talk. We even hear Lunda Wells, the tight end coach, talk about, you know what I'm saying, about him being amongst the Kelseys, him being amongst the Kittles. Like, so for your coach to be even, and he didn't say that he was one of them just yet, but to even be mentioned in that same conversation, that's saying that he's on the trajectory of that path. For your, you know what I'm saying? So like for his coach to be speaking highly of him, and not just him, to hear the coach speak highly of Ford, to speak highly of, you know, Hendershot and Holder being, and Schoonmaker even still, you know, working, even though he does have an injury, working through what he has to work through. Just seeing, and not just Lunda Wells, but seeing all these positional coaches just being so hands-on with these players, like, like it just feels good. Number one, to see, we talk about competition, but also just to see. It just feels like for me, like the coaches are a little bit more hands-on, like maybe because it is a lame duck year, maybe they're taking the opposite approach. Maybe instead of looking at it as a year, okay, well, 1 year, you know, we're changing next year, just at a third. Maybe they are looking at on the side of, okay, well, let's get together. You know, we got 1 year. Let's see what we can put on paper. Let's see what we can execute. Let's bring these players in, like Star mentioned, change the temperament of the locker room. And change the temperament, hopefully, of the players around these players that they're bringing in, and change the team, change the culture. We've been hearing about the word culture since even when the offseason first started. You know what I'm talking about? So, hey, with the fans were talking about it, maybe the Cowboys after all were listening. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they had the plan all along. You know, we'll never know. You know, they don't like to show their cards, but maybe they had this plan all along to where they wanted, you know, they saw how it ended last season. And yes, they do want to change their temperament. They do want to change the attitude, the culture of this locker room, because that does have an impact. Whether some fans want to believe, you know, how players feel, how they connect with the players in the locker room, and whether that translates on the field or not, it very much so does. So for the Cowboys to be taking those maybe baby steps, maybe because they're not huge steps because we haven't seen moves in free agency, but for them to be taking these baby steps in building this type of team, in building these type of players with the coach that they brought in, it's just good to see that they're not just sitting ducks. They're not just sitting back and just letting the year implode upon themselves. They did. It may not be the action we have wanted to see maybe in the beginning, or I wanted to see. I'll speak for myself, but just seeing that they have taken this type of action, this type of progression, you know, bringing these players in, it does, you know, it makes me more optimistic for the progression of the team as opposed to Super Bowl and all that. But I'm excited to see just how well we can, just how far we can go. I mean, I guess for me this year, I'll say it's not necessarily about how, quote unquote, how far we go, but how far we can go with the young players that we have acquired and that we have had these past couple of years.
Right. I'm totally with you, sis. You know, I think we just continue to look and monitor these positions.
Yes.
And see if, you know, like they're going all in on these guys because they believe that they got the right type of guys. You know what I'm saying? Like they believe that these are the guys that we need to change, because we do. You know, even though they asked Jerry and Steven this year, you think we have a culture problem? They're like, no, of course not. That's not how the draft look. Like, y'all know y'all have a culture problem. You know you have a culture problem and you're trying to fix it, because you need somebody who, like those players of the 90s, like, yeah, this is Hollywood. Yeah, we are the Dallas Cowboys. It is flashy over here, but we're not, it's not sweet over here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're real players. We dogs over here, and we are the best, and we will beat you. You know what I'm saying? So,
and coaches too, and there's no slight at all to Dan Quinn and some of the other coaches that were here previously, but yes, to see that temperament change. Yes, to see that temperament change, to see them bring guys in who want to put a foot in your tail. You know what I'm saying? Respectfully, like Coach Z. You know what I'm saying? Like Coach Ellis.
Coach Z.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Ellis may not be the, you know, quote unquote raging lunatic like he said, but he's a former player. You can look these guys in the eye and know how they're feeling. Exactly.
Right. So it's just a lot that this new coaching staff can bring. And, you know, I'll just be excited to see, you know, hopefully Jerry and Steven stay out of it and actually let these coaches coach these players so that we can get the best out of these players.
That's the key, right?
That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping. As we close, we didn't really, and I gotta go, but we really didn't talk about it. But I did want to just bring up or just share with our viewers that it does seem like there's been a little bit of traction when it comes to contract talks for Micah, CD, and Dak. And there was reports today that they're thinking that CD is likely going to get signed first, and that his contract will likely come in July, so early training camp. Right. So, I don't care who really gets paid first. I just need the guys to get paid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so, and before the season, stop playing.
Right. Before season, just go ahead and get these guys paid. When I was talking, shout out to Boss, because Boss called me this morning at 8 a.m. We talking on the phone about football. He woke me up out of my sleep. But I was like, let me pick up, because I'm like, if Boss calling me, let me pick up. But CD, when you look at CD in these workout videos, he don't look happy that he's away from the team. He wants to get back with the team. So I really hope Jerry and Steven, let's get his contract out the way. I do know that he's quote unquote waiting for Justin Jefferson, but at least start the talks so that you can see the ballpark. You know what I'm saying? You already know it's going to be 30 million plus APY. So it's just figure it out. And they also said they think Dak is going to get paid higher than Burrow. And I'm like, listen, I don't know, but they keep saying this. I don't know if it's wee-woo or what, but they said they're seeing, from what they heard, there's, there's sources on ESPN and all that stuff. They're like, they think Dak he's gonna eclipse Burrow, because Burrow is at 55 million APY. But I'm like, when you think about it, Dak is an all-pro quarterback, dog. Yeah. He was basically the MVP. So it's like,
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't hear that. I did hear about CD particularly getting paid before training camp, but I don't know. I think I heard on maybe Players Lounge that said that they may have. I think I seen that they may wait till after the season that Dak. Hopefully not. I definitely don't want this to happen, but it's saying if Dak has to play out his contract, that the Jones may be able to pay him less. If they wait to pay him, but I'm like. No,
that's not, if they don't pay Dak, he's out of here.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that because he's gonna be a free agent. He's gonna be in the open market. There's gonna be a bidding war on his head, and the Joneses don't participate in bid. They don't do bidding wars. They don't do that. So Dak doesn't get paid before season. He's gone. You know what I'm saying? And we will be starting over at quarterback. It will not be. I've already said this 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. It will not be Trey Lance. It will not be Trey Lance. It is going to be a rookie quarterback on a dirt cheap contract.
Yeah.
Because next year, if they don't extend these guys, they don't extend Dak and all this stuff, we're going to have you got a $40 million cap hit for him. You got a $17 million cap hit for Zach Martin.
Right.
I don't know. We're going to be in cap hell next year, just so people know. Especially if they don't extend that, we're going to be in cap hell.
Right. So either way, you'll be paying them. You'll be paying them $40 million anyway, so pay the dude.
Exactly. And people think this is a lame duck year. No, this ain't. Next year will be a lame duck year, because we'll be in full. When they say they ain't got no money this year, now they really ain't going to have no money next year.
Facts. Facts. Especially if you do pay Parsons and CD, you still got no money. Like you said, you
got Parsons. I was like Parsons, Tyler Smith, Bland. We're going to be broke next.
For real,
if they don't do these extensions, they can do what they want. You want to let Dak walk, let him walk, do whatever you want, but you're going to be in cap hell.
Correct.
And there's all these contracts. You got a lot of contracts coming up. A lot. Yeah. Jake Ferguson as well. So you better hope he don't have an all-pro year.
Right. And we were talking about his trajectory going up amongst the Kelseys, amongst the Kittles, and Bland. He just broke a league record just last year.
I don't know, Cowboys. The ball is in your court.
All right. And we're telling y'all what to do. Hit extend that. You know what I'm saying?
It's really not that hard, but whatever. We'll see what they do. But anyway, thank you guys for
Yes.
Rocking with us, StarChasers, Girls Talk Ball. I think this was a fire show. Y'all see that we trying to upgrade our setup and, just bring y'all some really exclusive content.
Yes, so we upgrading y'all.
Yeah,
help us
exactly. Out. Help us out. Donate to our Cash Apps, please.
Yes, y'all. Yes, training camp coming up, y'all. We trying to get y'all some badass footage. Star, should we hint something? Should we hint?
We are trying to work on. We're not gonna tell you, but we're trying to work on some things for you guys. Live is gonna bring us together. It's gonna be real cool, real fun. So help us out. Please donate to our Cash Apps. Please like the video. Please share our content and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. StarGazerSports, just like it's there on the screen. Mickey's is Cravin, Cravin Cowboys. So
correct. Like
y'all
Star,
help us.
Yes, help us out. Like Star say, if you listen on Twitter, if you listen on YouTube, IG, wherever you're listening to. If you hear our voices right now, please. We just ask that you hit the like button. And if you want to do some extra favors for us, like hit our Cash App, like hit our, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate that too. I'm saying, and everybody rocking out in the chat, thank you for coming through. My chat was acting crazy tonight, so anybody who came through who didn't get recognized, thank you so much. I know my girl caught everybody coming through. But thank you to everybody for spending your Wednesday evening with us. We gave y'all an hour and a half, Star. Like she said, like this show was fire.
Yeah, hour and a half. It was. I really appreciate you guys. I do got to run out, but thank y'all so much.
Appreciate y'all.
Hope to see y'all next week for sure.
See y'all. Have a good one.